What's up? My name is Nathan, a real estate agent here in St. Louis, Missouri. And every single week I'm sending you a new video about what it's like to really live here in St. Louis, Missouri. So if you haven't already, and if this is your first time to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you get updated every single time that I have a new video that talks all about St. Louis, what it's like to eat, sleep, and play here in St. Louis. If you have seen a few of my videos and you've been liking them, make sure to like the video as well. And if you're thinking of moving out to St. Louis, make sure to reach out to me. My number is down below. Would love to connect because I get calls every single day of people wanting to move to St. Louis and love helping them out and figuring out exactly the neighborhood and community and lifestyle that fits what they're looking for. So whether you're thinking of possibly maybe sometime in the future considering moving to St. Louis, or you are in the active moving process now, make sure to reach out to me. My number is down below. Would love to help out. I lived in St. Louis my entire life, and I want to let you know of the 7 things that you really need to make sure to know prior to moving here to make sure that your expectations are met and you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into it. My wife grew up in Ohio and ended up moving to St. Louis with her family while she was in college. And she was not a really big fan of this move. Instead of calling it St. Louis, Missouri, she called it St. Louis Misery. And she just did not vibe with the city and didn't like anything about it. It was difficult for her to be making friends while she was still away at college, and really didn't feel like there was much for her to do. Well, fast forward, she graduated from college, her and I met, and we fell in love. And she was wanting to leave the city and be like, hey, I know that both of our families are here, but I don't like this city, and let's go ahead and be moving to another city because there's so much that other cities can offer. And myself, I grew up from here. I love St. Louis, and both of our families are here. That's automatic babysitters when we have kids. But when we got married, instead of staying in the county and where she was knowing for a few years, we moved to the city, and she fell in love with it and gained a new appreciation for St. Louis. So she fell in love with not only me, but also St. Louis as well. But it was a really difficult time for her. So if you're thinking of moving to St. Louis, I don't want you to have a similar experience to what my wife had and to automatically have you fall in love with the neighborhood and community that you moved to. But here are 7 things that you need to know about St. Louis prior to moving here, just to make sure that your expectations are in check and you know exactly what to know about St. Louis and what to expect when you move here. So let's go ahead and dive into the first one, but make sure that you stay until the end of the video because the last one would be a deal breaker for me if I already didn't live here. All right, so number 1 is that there is a difference between St. Louis City and St. Louis County. So the St. Louis metro area has 2.8 million people in it. However, not all of them live within St. Louis City. Population in St. Louis City is only 300,000 people. That's about 10% of the entire people that live in St. Louis Metro. About 500,000 or so do live on the Illinois side of St. Louis, but the majority of people do live Missouri side of St. Louis, with about over 1 million people within St. Louis County and only 300,000 in St. Louis City. So I've been saying St. Louis County and St. Louis City, just throwing it out there, but what does that actually mean? Well, in the 1800s, the city and county separated, which means that they have their own government. The second thing that you need to know about living in St. Louis is that there is a completely different feel depending on which county you're in and the subset within those counties. So there are 4 major counties, aka or cities within St. Louis. There's St. Louis City, St. Louis County, Jefferson County, and St. Charles. Within St. Louis City, there are technically 79 different neighborhoods, and each of them have their own unique feel and style to them. So you want to make sure that if you're looking within St. Louis City, that the neighborhood fits exactly what you're looking for. Within St. Louis City, it's usually broken up into North City and South City. In North City, the average home price is $116,000, and within South City, the average home price is $230,000. That compares to the St. Louis average within the metro area of $260,000. Within South City, you can be expecting a good amount of duplexes, single family homes, a lot of local shops and eateries and bars and coffee shops. It's usually a little more walkable as well, and easy to get to the major highways within St. Louis and easy to get out to the county or downtown. The other thing to expect within St. Louis City is that there are a decent amount of apartment complexes as well, with the majority of them closer to downtown or Forest Park. St. Louis County has a population of around 1 million people and is broken up into North, South, Mid, and West County. So first starting off is South County with the average home price of $251,000 in 2021. And usually these are medium-sized lot sizes, but you get a little bit more of an urban feel, but not really large lots. Also, the typical home is around 50 to 70 years old, but it is easy access to 270, which is the major highway that runs north to south. But it can be a little difficult if your job is located very far north in St. Louis and can be a commute of around 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on that. Typically, you can find a cheaper home for the lot or the square footage that you're looking for. Next is Mid-County, and the average home price is $404,000 in 2021, and this is centrally located within St. Louis County. A lot of the really nice parts are within downtown Clayton, and this is a highly desirable area just because it is centrally located. There are certain parts that have a lot more of a suburban or even very remote feel within like town and country, or you also have different neighborhoods like Kirkwood and Webster Groves and Maplewood that are more of like a suburban urban feel, where you still have a decent amount of lot size but still decently walkable and nice downtown areas. Next we have West County, which the average home price is $434,000 in this part of the county. It is farther west, but you can usually get a little bit more bang for your buck in terms of your size of home and also lot size. Now this is a little bit different because you can have different areas, like within Chesterfield you'll have homes that are 20 years or newer, and also you'll have other areas like Baldwin or Ellisville, and those types of homes are typically about 50 or 60 years old, usually built in the 60s or 70s, and can be a little more dated, but updated. They can have a really nice feel, a good amount of square footage. You can typically expect to find a lot of subdivisions in this area and a lot of master plan kind of areas, but you also have a lot of different eateries and shops, and basically everything that you would want would be within West County. But it could take a little bit more time if you're looking to get into the city, or if you work close to downtown Clayton or downtown St. Louis. And then finally we have North County, and the average home price within North County is $139,000. There's been a lot of development within this area, and you can find a reasonably priced home, and the schools are still pretty good within St. Louis County. Next up is St. Charles County, which is to the north of St. Louis County, and the average home price in this area is $315,000. And within this area you can typically find master plan homes, with homes that range between either 60 years old or even newer. There's a lot of new development in this area, since a lot of St. Louis County has already been developed, and there's a lot of more new development within this area and community. There's also some really big businesses that move into the area, such as Amazon. Within this area you can get a lot of land for your money, depending on how far out within St. Charles County you go. And there's also the historical St. Charles on Main Street, which is also home to Lindenwood University, a fantastic university University, and a lot of people like to go to downtown St. Charles to grab a beer, bite to eat, or go to the parks as well. Last up is Jefferson County, home to over 200,000 people, and the average home size is $249,000. Typically, Jefferson County, for the most part, is a more rural area. You can get a lot more land for your money. Once you get past Arnold, it gets a lot more rural very quickly, but you can really find a lot of bang for your buck, and it's pretty easy to get towards downtown because you just take I-55 and can get there within 25 to 30 minutes. The third thing that you need to know about living in St. Louis is all of the weird traditions that we have. Like, where'd you go to high school? If you don't know, that is a very common question to be asked here in St. Louis. It's just a conversation starter that comes up very frequently when you're meeting someone new, because you're easily able to figure out kind of the location that they lived in, basically how much money their parents were able to make, and also you just have other conversation starters because high school sports are very popular here in St. Louis, and you can just start to talk about a bunch of different topics. But it's also a little weird at the same time, and if you're from out of town, from St. Louis, a lot of people just say whatever high school they went to. The person will be like, I've never heard of that high school, and you'll be like, yeah, I'm from out of town. And be like, oh, okay. But it's just really weird how we think of that. Just instead of saying like, oh, where'd you grow up? It's where'd you go to high school? Very odd. The second thing that's weird tradition within St. Louis is on Halloween. So if you have any kids, you'll be dressing your kids up for Halloween and go trick-or-treating. But you need to make sure that you are prepared. So when you go up to someone's house, you ring the doorbell, your kids will say trick or treat. And then the person standing there with the candy is gonna be waiting for your kids to tell a joke.
What?
And your kids need to be prepared with a joke because it's kind of expected within St. Louis. When a kid is going trick-or-treating, they're supposed to be telling a joke in order to receive candy. Really weird tradition within St. Louis. I thought it was completely normal growing up, and then I found out that it's not normal and not everyone does that. People just say trick-or-treat, get candy, and then leave. They don't even have to work for it. But here in St. Louis, you do need to work for your candy, and you need to at least become prepared with a joke. The last thing that is weird about St. Louis traditions is that we are very dedicated to our sports teams. The Cardinals, Blues, and we also have an MLS soccer team as well that is coming in 2023, and we are hyped about it. But it's not totally weird, but we just really support our teams, and it comes up very frequently within conversation. So if you're not a sports fan, I'm sorry, it will come up whenever you meet someone, most likely. And if you are a very big sports fan, it's gonna get brought up, and then we're probably gonna make fun of you for rooting for a team that doesn't have as much historical success as the Cardinals. But those are some of the weird things about St. Louis that you really need to know about. If you're planning on living in St. Louis, the fourth thing that you gotta know is the cost of living here. So our cost of living index is only 91.2, and that's out of 100. So just to explain, it's if something costs $100, it would average only $91 here in St. Louis. So it is actually cheaper to be living here than over half of the United States. So what kind of things does that include? It includes transportation and housing and utilities and groceries and basically everything that it costs to live. That's why it's the cost of living index. Now within St. Louis, a big thing is that our cost of living for housing is only 82. So if a home costs $100,000 somewhere else within the United States at the average place, it only costs $82,000 here in St. Louis, which is a big reason why St. Louis is very attractive, especially for first-time homebuyers, because our housing expenses are very low. Within St. Louis, our average home price was only $260,000 within 2021. Very affordable compared to the national average of over $300,000. The fifth thing you'll need to know about living here in St. Louis is the transportation situation. So you will most likely need a car while living here. We do have public transportation of buses and the Metrolink, but looking at these maps, it's pretty limited, especially for the Metrolink, which is not servicing very many areas. We are working significantly on getting that extended and be able to reach more areas and really trying to foster more green energy transportation within St. Louis, but it's going to take some time, especially if you're moving here now, you're probably gonna need a car. So one of my in-laws came into town recently and he said that it takes 20 minutes to get anywhere within St. Louis. And that's kind of true, actually. I mean, it depends on where you live, but you can get just about anywhere within St. Louis in about 20 or so minutes. If you're centrally located, you could be getting to St. Charles in 20 minutes, you could be getting to South County in 20 minutes, downtown in 20 minutes, really anywhere you want to be within 20 minutes, which is fantastic. But if you don't live near one of the major highways, it can take a little bit more time. Really, traffic within St. Louis isn't that bad, especially compared to places like Chicago, New York, Atlanta, LA, different places like that. However, it isn't perfect. So during rush hour is when it can get pretty bad. And if you're trying to go north to south, there's only one major highway, aka 270. There are other major roads such as 141, Lindbergh, and Kings Highway, but they aren't really that big, but try to fit a bunch of cars in them. So it's just one thing to consider when you figure out where you want to live compared to one you want to work or where you want to work, is that you might have a little bit of a drive time. But St. Louis is below the national average. It only takes an average of 24 minutes for commute time in St. Louis compared to the national average of 26 minutes. The sixth thing that you need to know about living in St. Louis are all of the major attractions. You want to know kind of what to be expecting that St. Louis has to offer for you, for your family, for your loved ones, and just what the heck you should be doing on a weekend. Within downtown St. Louis, there are all the major sports teams of the Cardinals, Blues, St. Louis Soccer Club, and also Union Station. There's a decent amount of stuff to do within downtown, and a lot of bars you can quickly be going to as well. Within the rest of the city, there are a lot of really cool spots that you gotta check out, like Cherokee Antique District, there's the Grove, there is Grand. At Forest Park, there is so much to do, and if you have any kids, they are absolutely going to be taking a field trip to Forest Park because there's so much to do, and the majority of it is free. So there is the St. Louis Zoo, free. The Muni, free for some of the places that you can look at, which is the second largest outdoor theater in the world, I'm pretty sure. There's also the Art Museum, free, and the Science Center, also free. And Forest Park is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and there's just so much to be doing in this area that it's really like its own lifestyle. You can be going on different trails and hikes, riding your bike, meeting up with friends for a picnic. There's even restaurants within the park itself. So there's so much to be doing here and very sought after by a large variety of people. If you have kiddos, there is absolutely a lot to do besides the stuff I already mentioned. There's Six Flags in Eureka. There is Grant's Farm in the middle of St. Louis, which there is free beer at the end if you make it there for adults. There is the City Museum where you're able to be running around with the kids, and it's basically like a big playground that is over 10 stories tall and super cool. And there's also the Magic House in Kirkwood. If you like to go out, there are a bunch of breweries here in St. Louis. Obviously, we have Anheuser-Busch, the king of beers, but looking at this map, there are just a ton of different breweries within St. Louis that are really cool to be checking out. Good luck trying to get to all of them. You shouldn't have any trouble going out with friends if you're a young person looking to meet friends or just hang out with your friends in any part of St. Louis. If you're a wine drinker, Missouri has fantastic wines, especially because of the Missouri River Valley, which just makes it very easy and produces fantastic wines. A lot of the vineyards and wineries are about 30 to 60 minutes out from St. Louis, depending on where you're located, but don't take that long to drive. You can really be making a day out of it of going to a bunch of different wineries. There's also a huge development for $500 million development within the Augusta Wine Valley, where there's going to be a bunch of really cool stuff going in. So that should tell you that we do have really good wine if someone is going to be investing $500 million to be making it a whole wine experience out in the Missouri River Valley. St. Louis also has a great of trails to be going on if you are into the outdoors or hiking. We have the Merrimack Caves just a little farther past on I-44, but my favorite thing to do is float trips. If you don't know what float trips are, essentially you go down one of the many rivers that we have here in St. Louis, and you just take a group of your friends, go down floating on an inner tube kind of thing, and just have a grand old time drinking some beer, hanging out with friends, and just hanging out for a few hours while you float down the river. If you're into the arts, there is so much going on here in St. Louis, and the biggest things are the fabulous Fox Theater towards downtown, and also the Muni, which houses a huge audience, and we get a lot of really cool shows where the stage can actually rotate and it's outdoors, but it's still comfortable even in the summertime. The last thing that you need to know about living in St. Louis, and this one is personally a deal breaker if it were me moving to St. Louis, and that is the weather. Now, St. Louis is in the middle of the country, and we do get all 4 seasons, which can be fantastic, but for some people is a huge bummer. My wife, she grew up north, and she absolutely hates the summers here because it does get above 90 degrees and is very humid. Now, not nearly as humid as it is in Florida or as hot as it is in Phoenix, but it still does get very hot here in the summer. The other thing is that the winters are pretty harsh. Now, of course, not as harsh as north within New England, but it does get extremely cold, especially in January, February, and a little bit of March as well. The average high is about 40 degrees, but there are a lot of weeks where we don't even get above 40 at all, and it can be brutal. And I hate the winter, so I really just have to stick it out for a few months. But really, it's not the end of the world because we do get all 4 seasons, and it does change pretty quickly. And you know what they say about the Midwest? If you don't like the weather, just wait an hour. And it's absolutely true, because earlier this week it was 55 degrees and sunny, and my wife and I took our little puppy out for a walk and went out to a bar in the middle of January, but then literally the next day we are expecting snow. So that's just what to be expecting here in St. Louis, is that you'll get all 4 seasons. Well, there's still so much that you probably need to know about St. Louis, and I want to make sure that you get that information. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, get notified, because we are always constantly updating you with all things about St. Louis and home buying. The other thing that you gotta do is make sure to reach out to me if you're interested in buying, even if you're just thinking of maybe, possibly, maybe someday thinking about buying a home here in St. Louis. Make sure to reach out to me because I would love to help. Coordination. Hey, no, Penny.